Yo people. Never used to wear gloves working on the bike, but I've just started recently, mainly since I got Mousse tubes. But I do swap these out for latex gloves when I'm doing the silicon on the mousses. If you're on the phone, chuck a comment in, let me know you're here. Everyone's got different sequences that they do. Oi, leave it be. Yeah, everyone's got different sequences that they do for taking the tyres off, where they start in relation to the bloody the rim locks. I've got 2 rim locks on this. Yeah, I've used the valve one plus the original rim lock. So my 2 rim locks on this particular rear, which isn't my hard enduro rear, this is the rear that I use for the faster races and trail rides and stuff. So yeah, the two bead lockers, rim lockers are right beside each other. But on the hard enduro setup, I've got them at opposite sides to each other. But yeah, people start in different spots. Yeah, I'm still trialing different things. I haven't really found what works for me. I find when I do it, I sometimes do it a bit different each time. But yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to do your tyres yourself. And the good thing about the Mousse tubes is that you don't have to worry about bloody pinching a tube and getting it all back together and going to pump it up and you pinch the tube. So that's the upside to doing running mousses. You don't have to worry about pinch flat. Yo, Luch Mob, how's it going? Thanks for dropping in, boys. What time is it over there in the States? Yeah, well, looky here. Who have we let in through the back door? I recently got a set of these curved levers as well. They are so bloody awesome. You get them from MX store. You can buy them individually, or you can buy them as a set of 5. You get them a bit cheaper. But yeah, they're so much better. I was running these things. I was only running 2 of these things for years. Yeah, night and day, changing over to these guys. And then you just, because you got 5 of them and they're not overly large. This is what I do anyway. I stick the 5 of them in. Push down with the bead breaker on that side, and then yeah, start peeling off. So the beauty of having more than 2 or more than 1 even is you just leave them in and just keep working your way around the rim. And yeah, once you've done the first lot with the 5, I normally just go back to 2. Yeah, just work your way around from there. So what I'm doing today, I've got this is a single green, so this is the super light Mitas. I run this for the Kenilworth Chook Chase, so a bit harder compound because it's a faster ride. I didn't want to run a double green for that. So yeah, just taking this one off. And going to chuck on an old double green that I've got. And I just noticed the other day when I put the new double green on the race wheels that this one's actually an EF Pro. So I'm going to actually run this. I've run a race on this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin it around. It's still got a square edge on the back side. So I'm going to spin it around and run it tomorrow for the training ride. Heading up to Big Rocks where the last hard enduro was held. I'm going to get some training in there for the up and coming Abobo Unleashed. So, and supposed to be the chance of rain on the weekend, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm heading training tomorrow with Jordo from Chaos Adventures. So yeah, I wasn't going to bother. I was just going to leave this single green on and run that, but yeah, big rocks and rain aren't really a great combination, so I thought I'd take the opportunity. I'm on a late start today, so yeah, I thought I'd take the opportunity to swap the tyres out. So all I'm doing here is I'm just I've pushed the tyre down to the other bead, then I just push these in and put them behind that other bead and then basically just peel. So this is just peeling the tyre off, going in the same direction as what you started. I know some people actually peel each bead off each side, which leaves a rim in the middle of the tyre. I used to do that, but now I've gone to this method of taking the tyre completely off one side of the rim. So once you get to a point with that, which I think I'm at, you should be able to just pop the wheel off. Yeah, good to see you too, brother. Is that you? I imagine that's you, Dorito. Hope you and Lucha Cabre are doing well, man. Yep, so that's off there. And that'll just stuck on the tyre changer. Oh, oh. Bolt's gone between the spokes and the rotor. So yeah, that basically, the rim just comes out like that. So yeah, that's where I've got my two rim locks there. Whoa, we've got 36 people in here. How you going? Chuck a comment if you're in there on a phone. Just go live chat. Let us know you're here, where you're from if you want. So this is a point where I'll swap over from the rubber gloves to the latex. This is where you start playing around with silicone grease. So Outdoor and More. Hey, Outdoor and More, how you going? Thanks for dropping in. Appreciate it. So yeah, once you get to this point, it's just a matter of peeling the mousse out. So yeah, really slippery. There we go. So this is a duramousse, super soft or soft enduro. This one. So yeah, that's essentially what your tube is, instead of a conventional pump up tube. So I believe these run at around 8 psi, I believe, depending. Some of the guys drill holes in them, make them softer again. But yeah, I'm just running them as a whole. I reckon they're soft enough for my level of racing anyway. So put that aside. So we'll put this sucker on. So this is the super soft, the Mitas EF Pro. So this one here, like I said, I've run one race on this. I don't know whether you can see there. There's enough light. So it's still got square edge on the back side. It's only the initial front edge that's worn down. So these are a directional tyre. They have an arrow on them for direction of travel, but for the purpose of longevity out of the tyre, spin this around, gives you the square edge on the drive side just to get a bit more out of the tyre, a bit more traction. So this is what I'll be chucking on for tomorrow's training ride. So I might chuck a bit more silicone in here. Doesn't hurt. It's still fairly greasy in there, but doesn't hurt. I've got heaps of silicone grease here, so you just get the brush, just run a bit more in here. So basically what the silicone grease is, it relieves friction between the tyre and the mousse. So hence, yeah, alleviates the tube rubbing and wearing, and also helps reduce the heat too by giving it a bit of lube between the two surfaces. So yeah, this mousse is still fairly lubed up. So just got that extra bit of silicone that I've put in there, silicone grease to add to it. The easiest way I've found with these is put the tyre on the ground, push the tyre down to open up the bead, Then just sit the mousse on top of the tyre at the bottom there and just push in with your foot. And then just spin the tyre, work your way around. Yeah, work your way around until the mousse is popped in. Obviously this is a bit harder with a new tyre because the new tyre hasn't been squashed down. If you have a look at this tyre has been run. And this is a brand new tyre as a comparison. So yeah, takes a bit to get these to squash down, that you get your bigger footprint. But you can also see, spin that around a bit, you have a look inside here, you see how close I can barely get my fingers in between the two beads there. When you compare that to a tyre that's already been run, check out how big you can nearly fit your whole fist in between the beads there. And yeah, lucky to knuckles are grabbing on that. So a little bit harder to fit mousses to brand new tyres, but yeah, easy as. So this is our one with the mousse in it. So let's run a little bit of silicone grease around there. Same deal goes for fitting the tyre. Like when you've had a tyre that's been on and off, even just the once, it's easier to lever them back onto the rim as opposed to a brand new tyre that hasn't been on. But these things here are good too. This is a cheapie from it's like a Ballard's or something like that. They're not that expensive. They do make life a bit easier. I've got mine just clamped to a little table that I had just to get it up a bit higher. This one doesn't have the allowance. It might be the Ballard one, or one of those actually has box section on the bottom, and you can get it so that it's on legs, like on a tripod. This one doesn't have that, and yeah, I've just clamped it to the table. Seems to do the trick for me. So chuck this rim on. I've found, once again, this is just me personally, I start with the sprocket up. Main reason for that is when you are actually trying to get the tyre on in a specific direction, I just find that it's easier that looking at it from this side, I know that the drive is that way, because this is the way it goes on the bike. Yeah, so I just put that on that so I know which orientation to put the tyre on. Yeah, just little things like that, because I have in the past actually put tyres on back to front. So this is just what I've adopted to make sure that I put the tyre on the right way. So looking at this, got my square edge on the front here. I want that to go in that direction. So yeah, that's the correct way for that. So I think they call them a bead buddy. This was one I got off Temu. I can't even remember what I paid for it, but these are a godsend. They push into the bead of the tyre and the rim, and they lock around the spoke. And what that actually does is that holds the tyre down against the bead. So when you start levering, the tyre doesn't pop up off the rim and you have to start again. So what I normally do is I push the tyre over my rim locks, and then I drop the bead buddy in there. So that way I've already got that edge over the bead over the rim lock. So you can actually cheat a little bit with this, push them out and actually get the tyre in underneath the rim locks. That can also act as a bead buddy as well, but I still actually run the bead buddy. So this is the point where I get rid of my latex gloves because I'm not really dealing with the silicone anymore. So bin them, go back to the rubber gloves. Mate, that's outdoor. This is a 2023 Gas EC350, this one. Sorry mate, I didn't see your comment there. So yeah, back to the levers. So over the rim locks, bead buddy in, and then just start working your way around. So this can be a bit tricky, even with all the bead buddy and the rim locks and stuff. It can still be a bit tricky. It still can actually pop up. But the trick is just to try and stop it from popping up as you leave around. Like I said, this is going to be a little bit easier because the tyre's already been fitted previously, so the tyre's a lot more pliable. So I normally work with 3 levers when I'm doing this. So I have I'll leave this one in to hold the tyre on there. This one here is partially levered over. The third one I stick in. You sometimes have to back off, let the tyre back up a little bit to get that in. So then yeah, next bite on that one. Then leave those 2 in. This one comes out. Use these with that little lip that way, so it grabs on the rim and doesn't slip off. And then yeah, that's that first bead of the tyre over the rim. Yeah, at this point here, I normally double check the rim locks on here, see that tyre's not sitting up on the rim locks, which it's not. So that bead is completely on the rim there. So yeah. This point here, I still leave the bead buddy on. Once again, as you start levering the tyre around, what can happen is the bead will start chasing you. It'll start peeling back off the rim as you work your way around. So I leave the bead buddy on there. Get your levers. This is where the curve part comes in on these. So what it does is, as it folds over, the shape of the lever actually alleviates you from pushing onto the tyre, whereas if you were using a flat lever, you've got to push the tyre down as well, whereas the curved levers actually sort of curve up and around the tyre. So with the initial, I start with 2 levers until it gets to the point where the tyre's tight. And then, yeah, I introduce more levers for the last little bit. So this here is basically just leapfrogging, lever in, lever out, lever in, lever out. So, and when you get to here, this is where the tyre starts to get tight. So what I do is I spin it around so I'm opposite the bead breaker. I'll bring this over and I'll put pressure on the tyre there to push the bead into the centre of the rim and give you a bit more clearance. So this can still be a bit tricky even with the tyre that's been on before. So what I do is I get my all 5 levers into position. You can possibly do it with less, but I just find that 5 levers spaced out. Let me move that out of the road. So the 5 levers spaced out roughly evenly covers your full part of the tyre that's not on yet. And yeah, what it gives you is the ability to lever in multiple places at the same time and essentially pop the bead of the tyre over the rim. So I'll give that another push down into there. So you notice on the way, like my rim locks are way over here, so I'm not having to try and push the tyre down where the rim locks are. So we'll push down on that. What you've got to watch here is if it does let go, these levers will fling back, and yeah, they can shoot out. So I've got that pushed down a bit. I'll just, yeah, exactly like that, except worse sometimes. So we'll start working our way across. Sometimes little trick that I do is actually get my leg up and over to try and help the levers, because you've only got obviously 2 hands and you're trying to work with 5 levers. So initially working your way in. Oh, that one's popped out. If they pop out, make sure you pop them back in, because as that tyre comes around onto the rim, you won't have the room to actually pop them in. So that actually was quite easy. Once again, like I said, this is an old tyre that's already been fitted. Hey Rhett, how you going? Yeah, no tube in here, mate. I've got Mousse. So that's one good thing about running Mousse tubes, man, is you don't have to worry about pinching the tube. So then what I do is I just get the rubber mallet. Just find it's easier to just gently tap the bead buddy out. So at this point we're still not finished. We've still got to deal with the rim locks and make sure the rim locks are actually up inside the tyre and not actually holding the bead of the tyre back. So what I normally do with this is I get 2, use the straight edge and push them down in between the tyre and pull the tyre out away from the rim locks. Make sure that the rim locks are pushed all the way into the bolt. If they're not, you can actually, with these tyre fitting thingy, whatever you want to call them, you can actually push this down in beside it and actually lever against the head of the rim lock to push the rim lock back. So these are pretty good. I've got them sorted from when they first went in. So you can give them a bit of a tap with the rubber mallet to get them right in. So that's essentially it. That's tyre on rim. Obviously it would have been a bit quicker if I wasn't stopping and talking to you guys, but yeah, so that's fitted. So essentially what I do before I actually do the rim locks up, I like to get the wheel and actually bounce the wheel and spin it. This just helps settle the bead a little bit, position the tyre, then pretty much do up the rim locks. Then we're ready to go back on the bike. Bloody ratchet spinners are the go for these rim locks, eh? Only problem is I don't have a 12mm ratchet, so I've got to use a 12mm bloody standard ringy. Make sure you don't forget to do your rim locks up, because if you do and you get out on the trail or the track or whatever and start giving it some beans, you'll find your tyre will bloody spin on the rim. So especially with all the silicon and that around, or if you've used lube for your for fitting your tyre lube, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, just make sure you do your rim locks up. That tyre's seated pretty well. Some guys apparently, I think I've actually got it on the front, on my front race rim. The guys actually cut the valve off the tube and actually shove the valve into the valve hole, and then if you're running two rim locks, they'll run, obviously you need second and third hole for your rim locks, but they'll actually put the valve in there, and what that does is if you have issues, especially if you're running really soft drilled mousse, then they can actually put a compressor onto the valve and actually give it a blast of air, and it'll actually help pop the tyre onto the bead. Like I said, I don't have that out of 3 of the 4 rims I've got. I don't have the valve, but I did notice that the previous owner had the valve on the front of the race rims, I think it is. No, it's actually on this one, on the rim that's on here. Yeah, it's actually got the valve, but it's only running single rim lock on the front there. So, but yeah, that's a little trick. If you have issue with your getting your tyres on the bead, put a valve in the valve hole, and compressed air will help pop the tyre bead. So that's essentially ready to go on the bike. So might, before I put that on, put a little bit of grease on the axle. I like putting a little bit of grease. Doesn't really matter what type of grease it is, but I just like to grease the axle before I slide the axle in. Just help with corrosion, helps it slide in a little bit easier. Like I said, each their own. Everybody has their little things that they do. I normally get a large flat blade screwdriver just to gently pry the rear calipers open. This makes it easier to get the rotor through with the calipers opened a bit. Hey, how you going? I've no idea what your name is. That's either in Russian or something like that by the looks of it. How you going? Thanks for dropping in. So I'll bring you guys around here. This is a little trick I have learned that I didn't know about. I'm going to bring you around and show you. You know when you're, what do I got? Grab a rag out of here. Alright, so we've got a rag here. Spin you around for a sec. So, you know when you've just, I've just put the rear tyre back in, slid the axle through. So, you know when you're going to do it up, and I'll spin you around again. So, when you're spinning it around and you've got your adjusters here. So, you can see on that side there's a bit of a gap on the adjuster. So sometimes that can be a bigger gap depending on how things are set up. So I've always like pushed a knee on or leant against it with my chest to make sure that the tensioners there, make sure these guys are hard up against the adjuster bolt. But when I was over at my mate Willie T's, Willie gets a rag in between the chain and the sprocket, spins the chain backwards until it won't go any further. Voila, look at that. Pulls everything up tight. So how cool is that little trick? While you're holding that in position, just tighten your nut up. Job's done. How good's that? Anyway, I'll chuck his back over here while I tighten that wheel up. Then we're job done. So yeah, that's pretty much that fitted up. Get that out of there. It's starting to fall. That brush I think needs to go in the bin. Yeah, a few little cool things that I've found to make life easier. Definitely the curved levers, and yeah, I found five. Five is a good number to have. Obviously for the previous little tricks that I've showed you. Little bead buddy. That's the go. Yeah. Mechanic gloves. Rubber back gloves. Just you know, when you're dealing with rotors, sometimes the rotors can be sharp and stuff when you're fitting tyres and you slip and get your knuckles on the rotor. So, like I said, I've only really started running these since I've had Mousse tubes. Don't ask me what the difference is between fitting mousses and fitting tubes, because it's pretty much the same process apart from what you put in between the tube. Yeah, so I don't think of what else. So I do want to give a massive shout out to Mitas Moto Australia, Mitas Tyres, for their support this year. They've sponsored me as part of the rider support program. They've helped me out with tyres this year. So yeah, greatly appreciated to Mitas Moto Australia for jumping on board. And yeah, tyres are certainly an expensive part of the sport, especially the soft gummies in hard enduro. Essentially, you only get one race out of a gummy, and they then become a training tyre essentially, like I've just done. Spin it around to use the back square edge for training. But yeah, if you were to do that for a race, yeah, you'd be sort of, I think, in a world of hurt on your second lap or so on a hard enduro. Because once you've already got that taper on the back edge where it's worn from the previous, and then you got your square edge, what happens is as you ride, that face goes, and then it gets to a point, and then it just starts wearing really quickly from that point. So in the case of gold riders, those boys are definitely not getting a second go, I don't think, out of their gummies. But yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to Mitas. I've still got, for the rest of the race season, I've just put a new one on, my race wheels for a Bobo. So I've got a brand new double green here. That's set up on my race wheels, ready for next weekend for a Bobo Unleashed. So I've got that baby there. I've got the single green super light on the front. They seem to be doing really well. Yeah, happy with those guys. And yeah, I've got what do I got here? That's a single green rear, so that's a super light. What do they call them? They're still an EF, but they're a single green super light. I've got another one of them. So I'm planning. The reason why I got some single green, requested them in the batch from Mitas, was I knew I was going to be doing some Pony Express. I raced Ironman at Miva, so I run the single green for Miva. Run the single green for the Kenilworth Chook Chase. And I train on either the, depending what sort of training, I either train on the single green to give me a bit more longevity on the tyre, or I do what I'm doing with a spun double green. So I've still got another double green here that I had aside for third round of the Queensland, but unfortunately that got canned. So, but yeah, there's still a big portion of the year left yet. We've only just hit August, so yeah, still got a few tyres there to tide me over. And I've also still got a brand new super light here front, so single green super light front. So yeah, Mitas really looked after me for this season. So I hope to be with them again next year. Maybe with a higher level of support would be awesome, crew. But what you've given this year is greatly appreciated. So yeah, awesome stuff. All right. I don't know. Anybody in there got any questions? Alrighty. So still got 20 kicking around in here. Don't really have much else to do on the bike, I don't think, at the moment. Don't forget the bung. Don't forget the bung. Alright peeps, I think I'm going to bail. It's still showing 18 people in here. Thanks everyone for dropping in. Massive shout out to all my sponsors. Yeah, MX Inc. Graphics, love it. You guys knock it out the park every time, eh? NSX Factor, best grip breast pull straps on the market these days. Yeah, Mitas, obviously Mitas Moto Australia. Pro suspension, also known as Promo Motorcycles. Cheers for the suspension and parts and stuff looking after me there. Who else have we got that's on the bike? Not really much else on the bike that is. Well, we got Headskins Australia, we've got Focus X over in America. Thank you guys for your support. You guys have been around. You guys have been my very first sponsors. Juve Sports Australia for yeah, the muscle sprays and the palm savers, palm protectors, and Moto Odyssey Australia, thanks for your support, rocking the stickers on the bloody the vehicle that goes up to the tip and sending me out jerseys and stuff and coolers. Metrolec, Jacob, thanks brother. Really appreciate everything you do for me, mate. Undercover Australia for my gear bags and stuff. Bowcare Bone Therapy for keeping the body in as good a shape as possible. Yeah, thanks everyone, really appreciate it, and we'll catch up with you. Thanks for hanging around and tinkering in the shed.